Hey guys, AmyFalzo. Google Home, the latest innovation from Google that is marketed as the hands-free help from the Google Assistant. This device was created to be a second set of helping hands around your home. It quickly answers questions, plays music, and even tunes into some of your electrical devices. But don't be completely fooled before you race out and buy one, because here's the reality of owning a Google Home. For starters, Google Home retails at $200 in Australia at most major retailers. I do actually think the price is quite reasonable, especially if you're someone that's going to utilize the device. Keep in mind it does have other features that I'm going to talk about a bit later. So I think for the price you pay, it definitely is worth it as long as you're going to be someone that actually uses it. Straight off the bat, I can tell you, if you're someone who has never really liked voice assistant programs, you've never been a fan of Siri, Bixby, Google Assistant, Cortana, things like that, if you've never really used them or make the effort to use them, then I would probably advise you to steer clear of Google Home because that is basically what it is about, what it's oriented around. And I think if you're not willing to at least give it a good chance, then this is probably something you can skip in your home for now. The design of Google Home I really love. The packaging that the Google Home comes in is quite sleek, and the Google Home itself is actually quite modern looking and very minimalistic. If I'm being honest, I actually think it's also very cute. I always want to talk to it just because of how it looks. One thing I really like is that the Google Home basically fits in wherever you place it, no matter what room of the house it's situated in. The Home lights up with the 4 brand colors of Google whenever it's responding to one of your requests, and I like that. It actually gives it a bit more color, a little color pop, and a bit more personality. You can actually buy different colored bases for the Google Home if you wish to go that further step to matching it into your home, but personally I think the base it comes with is already quite sleek. So when you first buy the product, you're going to have to download the Google Home app onto your smartphone. This allows you to set up multiple users and teach Google your voice. The app also works as a bookmarker for any sites or recipes, for example, that you and Google Home have talked about. It will place them there later for your reference. So you can address Google Home in 2 ways. You can say the standard, "Okay Google," or you can opt for the second option, which is just, "Hey Google." I use Hey Google a lot more. I like Okay Google, but after a while it starts to just sound too formal when you're talking to the assistant. So I opt for more Hey Google, it just comes out more natural. I must say I haven't had too many experiences where Google has not actually understood what I said. Really the only time it has a bit of trouble is if I word a question a bit strangely or too lengthy. Or secondly, it might just be because it doesn't have the capabilities to answer what I'm asking. Occasionally, the Google Home does have some technical errors, as do all devices. You might ask it something and it will just respond with silence, even though it has heard your question.
Play me Little Mix.
Sure, playing your Spotify playlist called Little Mix.
Sometimes the response time can be a little more lengthy, but honestly these are all pretty minor glitches that I've seen and they don't happen too much, and they can all usually be fixed by just unplugging and replugging in the device. That's another thing, so the Google Home is powered by adapter. It's not battery operated, so you can't have it just sitting on its own and work. It needs to be connected to the power line. Normally once you've found its spot, it will just stay there. So as you can hide the wire, it's not too much of a big deal. I don't find that it needed to be battery operated. So Google Home has quite a few voice interaction features. You can ask it any generic question and it'll search Google and reply back to you in voice form.
How do I say nice to meet you in Spanish?
Encantada de conocerte.
You can ask it trivial things like, what's my name? Or when's my birthday? What is the meaning of life? Do you have any kids? Ask it who a certain celebrity is and it will tell you.
Who is Princess Diana?
According to Wikipedia, Diana, Princess of Wales, was a member of the British royal family as the first wife of Charles, Prince of Wales, who is the eldest child and heir apparent of Queen Elizabeth II.
But this is just the basis of using Google Home. Personally, I don't use it too much for asking random questions because I can just do that on my phone or laptop. I much prefer using my home as a music speaker and personal assistant. Now the speaker quality on the Google Home is really quite impressive, I will admit. For the price you pay and the size that the Google Home is, the speaker is very powerful and clear. And so now, instead of streaming my music from my phone, I'll just ask Google to play it instead. But here's the thing about streaming music from the Google Home. You can stream from Spotify, YouTube Red, or Google Play Music. Most people I know use Spotify, so this is perfect, right? Well, the catch is that you will need a premium account to be able to stream to the Google Home. This wasn't so much a problem for me. I already use Spotify Premium, but a lot of the people I know actually don't use the premium version. They just use the free version. And I don't actually think Google makes this very clear before purchasing the product that you will need a premium account to make this work. Google, however, does provide 6 months free subscription to YouTube Red with every purchase of a Google Home. Honestly, if you're someone who's already been using a specific streaming service, you're probably not going to jump ship. I think it is good for people who don't use a streaming service so far, so they can kind of test it out and give it a go with their Google Home. But the reality is, after 6 months are up, you will have to be paying for it again. If you're planning on using it for music speaker like I am, then yes, you do really need to consider your options before you buy a Google Home. So one of the best things about Google Home is its ability to summarize and advise you of your day. Every morning I ask, "Hey Google, tell me my day," and it'll respond with this.
Good afternoon, Amy. It is 3:01 p.m. Right now in North Rocks it's 15 degrees and partly cloudy. Today it'll be partly cloudy with a forecast high of 16 and a low of 4. Your commute to home is currently 13 minutes with light traffic by car. Have a wonderful day. Here's the latest news from BBC Minute at 2:27 p.m. today.
BBC Minute with Krusty and Sarah.
As you can see, it responds with work commutes, weather, any events I have planned, and even finishes up with the news. The news feature I really like. I like that it reads from an actual news station, so it's actually a podcast. It's not Google Home reading out the news itself, which kind of sounds a bit robotic at times. And you can also choose which news broadcaster you would like. Depending on your region, yeah, you can select a couple of news podcasts. So being able to have multi-users on the Google Home is a real win for Google. This basically means that every member of your household can talk to the Google Assistant and it will tailor to their voice and know how to answer to them. For example, if I were to say, "Hey Google, play my music," it would play my Spotify playlist compared to my mum or my sister's playlist, and if they were to ask, it would go to their playlist instead. But once again, with music playlists, you will need to have a premium account per person, okay? So I thought that because I have a premium account, everyone would be able to stream. It's not like that. So at the moment, if my sister, for example, asks to play a song, it'll be playing off my account. It won't be playing off her account because she doesn't have a premium subscription. I must say though, the multi-users is still a bit glitchy. A lot of the time, Google will still respond to the main owner. So when you first set up Google Home, that is the base first owner. That's the first voice that it always responds to. And I find a lot of the time, if anyone else in my family were to say, "Hey Google, what's my name?" they'll say, "Your name is Amy." So they don't, I don't know, I find it is a good feature, but it definitely has its faults at the moment. Google Home does have its Easter eggs. Like I said, you can ask it some pretty silly questions and it will give you some good answers. It also does kind of have Easter eggs depending on your region, so where your Google Home is from. The Australian Google Home is quite funny, I really like it. The way it says goodbye, it'll say uru, and it'll say hi mate, g'day. And it even has this joke from one of Australia's best, most iconic movies.
I made you something.
I love it. It's going straight to the pool room.
This is going straight to the pool room.
So one thing about Google Home is that it actually has touch features. So things like volume, instead of asking Google every time, "Hey Google, turn up the volume," you can actually just drag your finger around in a circle motion and it will turn the volume up and down. Same with tapping. If you tap it, it will make the Google Home stop instantly if it's streaming music or answering a question. If you just tap it very lightly once, it will stop. And then if you were to tap it again, it will begin again. So simple touch features, but I think it's useful for when you're just sick of talking to Google Home and instead you just want something to shut it up. These are just easy additional features, which I really love. Okay, now let's get down to the nitty gritty. Yes, Google Home is fun to play around with for a couple of days after you purchase it, but the reality is that if you don't have a smart home, you need to consider if you actually need this product. Obviously, if you have a dumb home like myself, where everything isn't connected to Wi-Fi, the lights are just lights, you don't have electrical ports that you can turn off from your smartphone, then I don't really think Google Home is worth buying. Of course, you can purchase products that will turn your home into a smart home, but it is very expensive all up. Okay, so these products don't come cheap. If you stack them all up and you really want to make your home into a smart home, it's gonna cost you a lot. So just for testing reasons, I went out and bought a Chromecast. This is basically something you hook up to your TV and it allows you to say, "Hey Google, play this YouTube video from my TV," and it will turn your TV on and go straight into YouTube and play. Without a Chromecast or a Chromecast enabled TV, you cannot ask Google to turn on your TV. That's like, I think Google's marketing campaign is a bit misleading, especially its TV ad. It's all about, hey Google, turn on the lights. Hey Google, turn off my hair straightener. But in reality, if you don't have the products for this, it's not gonna happen. You're just gonna be asking and Google's gonna be saying, sorry, I can't help you with that. The Chromecast I purchased, I liked it at the time. I played around with it. Hey Google, play PewDiePie from my TV. And it would do it and it was easy. But the reality is I don't use that feature anymore. It's just easier for me to just go to my TV and turn it on myself. Now, the only last problem I'm gonna talk about, and this is something very minor, is the problem of where to put your Google Home. So on the ads that we see for Google Home on our TV, we can see parts where they're in the bedroom, in the kitchen, in the living room, but in reality, your Google Home is going to be staying in one spot. You're not going to be moving it around to every room, nor are you going to be purchasing 6 Google Homes for every room of the house. Now, if you really want to, you can buy more Google Homes, keeping in mind this will set you back another $200 each, and you can connect them together. So if you really want to have like one upstairs, one downstairs, you could. I think it's a bit unnecessary, and obviously this is for bigger houses. Obviously some houses are smaller, one story, you can make it work. But yeah, you can link them up together so that they're basically the one service, but just using from 2 different broadcast points. So I first struggled when I purchased the home because I set it up in my kitchen, which is all fun and great because then I can ask it things like, hey, tell me this recipe, put in a timer for 15 minutes while I'm cooking, hey, play some music so I can listen while I'm doing stuff in the kitchen. But then it got to the point where if I wanted something and I was in the living room, it just didn't really work. Like, even if I was to shout from the living room, Google normally would not pick it up. So then I was thinking, should I move the Google Home to the living room? But then if I were to move it to the living room, I wouldn't have any use for it in the kitchen. So like I said, you really have to find like a good spot to put it in that's kind of halfway in between rooms, or if you know you're only going to be using it for one certain section of the house, then you need to place it there. Yeah, this is kind of where I found it a bit tricky, and I've seen other people talk about this as well. It's just a matter of finding where to put it because you can't really move it around a lot. It's just very impractical. So microphone wise, it does pick up quite well. Like I said, if I talk from the living room to the kitchen, it doesn't pick it up, but from standing a fair distance away, as I will show you, it does still pick up my requests fairly easily, and I'm not even really raising my voice to ask it these questions.
Hey Google, play F You by Little Mix.
Okay, F You by Little Mix. Playing on Spotify.
This is good, but remember, Google Home is always listening, so its microphone is constantly on 24/7, just in case you ever say, okay Google. Now you can turn off the microphone. There's a button at the back of the Google Home which is hidden, and you can click it, and this will turn off the microphone. But this is kind of impractical because if you want it for ready, easy use to ask it whatever question you want, whenever you want, then you're gonna have to remember to turn on the mic first. But for people with privacy concerns, yes, you can turn off the microphone. So all in all, the Google Home is a great product. I like it. I really would think if you own a small home or you're in an apartment, this is something that's really cool that you could own because it's not a very big space, so Google Home can monitor the environment you're in without being too far away from it. And in fact, actually, even if you're someone who just has always liked voice assistant programs and you do use them, I think this is something that you will like and you won't regret purchasing. But I also think that if you don't plan on adding any smart home features to your house, I think you should give this a miss. Google Home, it's hard to say this because it is a good product, it has a lot of good features, but honestly, if you're not going to use it to its full potential, I would give it a miss. But yeah, if you are just wanting to buy it because of the looks and it's just something new technology, then yeah, I would recommend giving it a skip because it's probably just not worth the $200 at the moment. I hope this gives you a bit more insight if you were thinking about making the decision to buy it, because yeah, it is a lot of fun to play around with and it does have some smart features, but I just don't think at this stage, at its first release, it's worth buying if you don't have the house features to match it. Alright guys, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!